Feeling a little deja vu? Don't worry, you're not seeing double. We are back with another How Disney World is Sabotaging Your Vacation video to make sure you don't get bamboozled. Disney World can sometimes become its own worst enemy, and your enemy too, ironically enough. So we're gonna fight back today and make sure your trip to the most magical place on Earth is exactly that, magical. Hey everybody, it's AJ for Disney Food Blog. Not too terribly long ago, we posted a video called How Disney World is Sabotaging Your Vacation, and we quickly realized that if we talked about every single point we really wanted to talk about in that video, we could have released it as a full feature film. So today we're coming back with a part 2 of how Disney World can become the ultimate saboteur of your should-be magical trip, along with how you can push back to make sure the should-be part becomes an absolute, guaranteed magical trip. Oh, and by the way, if you haven't watched part 1 yet, that's okay. Unlike the MCU, today's video will still make sense, even if you watch them out of order. So Disney's definitely trying to keep you inside the Disney bubble. They're not forcing you to stay in their parks with a ball and chain or anything, but they'll work as hard as they can to try to keep you on property. Let's look at Exhibit A. If you stay at a Disney-owned hotel, you'll not only have complimentary transportation all around the resort area, but you'll also be able to enter the parks 30 minutes earlier than everybody else, thanks to that early theme park entry perk available for all hotel guests. Oh, and if you're a deluxe Disney hotel guest, you'll have the additional extended evening hours perk too, where you can stick around select parks on certain nights up to 2 hours after the official park closing times. Thinking about dining outside the parks? On to Exhibit B. Disney still doesn't want you leaving their sphere of influence, even when you're not in their parks, which is why you're going to find so many quick services and table services and fine dining and even character dining around Disney Springs and the Disney hotels too. Because why go to Applebee's when you could go to an Applebee's with dinosaurs? T-Rex Cafe. I'm talking about T-Rex Cafe. I mean, I'd be lying to y'all if I told you Disney never suckered me into staying on property with all their hundreds of food options. I mean, look at me. I run a site called Disney Food Blog. For crying out loud, I've dedicated 15 years to creating a DFB guide to Walt Disney World dining filled with thousands of gorgeous pictures and fun reviews of everything you can eat in and around the parks. It's not hard at all to twist my arm and persuade me to stay on property if you have a new mac and cheese option under my nose. Of course I want to try it. It has breadcrumbs and baked cheese, even better. And of course, you got Exhibit C, the theme parks, which are loaded with family-friendly options and feature rides and shows that cater to a huge scope of folks. Thrill seekers, the ones craving edutainment options, families with the itty-bitty babies, the families with great-great-grandma Mavis tagging along, everybody. You can even get a lot of your mall shopping done with a day in Disney Springs, since they've got stores that go beyond just your character-driven Disney product. But wait, hold up. How is all this good stuff that Disney has at your disposal sabotaging your vacation? Well, since Disney's created their own little city, so to speak, they very well might persuade you to stay put and not venture out into the other areas around Orlando. And if you don't go to Orlando very often, that means missing out on other top-tier theme parks like Universal Orlando, SeaWorld, Legoland, or even Busch Gardens if you're willing to drive the extra hour out to Tampa, which is kind of fun because then you get to pass that cool dinosaur theme park. And you're really not going to want to miss out on Universal once 2025 rolls around, since they'll be opening their third theme park gate, Epic Universe, which will feature 5 new realms to explore, including Super Nintendo World, Dark Universe with a bunch of monsters, How to Train Your Dragon, Isle of Berk, Celestial Park, and the Wizarding World Ministry of Magic. Can you tell we're excited? Because we are excited. Not to mention there are so many other touristy attractions you might want to explore outside the bubble too, like the Orlando Eye or a kayaking tour, or visit the other Gideon's Bakehouse over in the East End Market that has way shorter lines than the Gideon's in Disney Springs ever has. Plus it has mobile ordering. You can even find cheaper yet still authentic Disney souvenirs by shopping outside the Disney bubble, since the Character Warehouse locations sell overstocked Disney merch at more often than not super discounted prices. You can find the Character Warehouses at Orlando International Premium Outlets and Orlando Vineland Premium Outlets. What I'm saying is that, yes, staying in the comfort of Disney is, well, comforting, but if you've got the wiggle room for it, you might want to branch out and check out the other Orlando offerings that go beyond the most magical place on Earth, too. And let's not forget how much cheaper it can be to stay off Disney property. Well, more often than not, even Disney's value hotels can be $200 plus per night. Good Neighbor hotels that partner with Disney without being owned by them can offer a handful of the same Disney hotel benefits at a much cheaper price point. For example, the Renaissance Renaissance Orlando Hotel and Spa is located right near Disney Springs and is considered a boutique hotel experience with prices starting at $130 per night. This hotel still offers guests early theme park entry and free transportation to the parks. Some rooms even have fireworks viewing. Another hotel with free Disney transportation is the Wyndham Garden Lake Buena Vista, which can sometimes have rooms for under $100 per night, depending on the season. And starting at around $110 per night, the DoubleTree Suites are a great option for those traveling in a larger group. DoubleTree also has that early theme park entry perk and free shuttle service to the parks, though you will have to reserve your spot on the bus. Speaking of larger travel groups, it might also be beneficial for your party to rent out a whole house from a site like Airbnb or Vrbo to give yourself a lot more elbow room for a much lower price point. You'll just have to sacrifice all the extra Disney hotel guest benefits, which might be worth it for more bedrooms and a full kitchen area, maybe even a private pool in the backyard. Okay, now I just want to get this out in the open before we get too deep into the sabotage part of them destroying your favorite sections of the parks. I am excited to see many of the things that Disney announced during this year's D23 fan event come to fruition. A Villains Land that competes with the new Dark Universe area coming to Epic Universe, bring it on. An opportunity to step inside the Casa Madrigal from Encanto, amazing. A whole Monstropolis right inside Hollywood Studios when I have a kid who is obsessed with Sully. As long as you leave Muppets Courtyard alone, Disney, then consider me a new member of the Laugh Floor. But I also know that not everyone is thrilled with the changes taking place over the next few years, because changes mean two things. One, more construction walls, and two, potential replacements for well-loved areas around the parks. Now here's the good, not so good news. Some of these projects still have a ways to go before you're going to see them completely take over certain areas of the park. So let's talk about those loose timelines real quick so you can plan your upcoming vacations to see the classic Disney sections and attractions before they're replaced by, construction walls. The new Cars Land in Magic Kingdom will be taking over the Rivers of America and Tom Sawyer Island and the Liberty Square Riverboat. Now, we're a little confused as to how they're going to fit two whole new rides into this section of the park. And while we think the Rivers of America and the Riverboat are absolutely gorgeous, we can also see why Disney's ready to put something new in the Tom Sawyer area. There's just not a whole lot there. Then again, it's very peaceful. It's a great place to let your little kids go run around, but maybe they can use the space better. I don't know. It's a hard pill to swallow, but definitely one worth future discussion. Construction on this new area is going to begin in early 2025, meaning you'll still be able to visit these classic Frontierland sections for the remainder of 2024. The new show Zootopia Better Zoogether will officially be coming to the Tree of Life in the winter of 2025 over in Animal Kingdom. This will replace the ever so terrifying It's Tough to Be a Bug show that's there right now, which I'm not the biggest fan of, but I know there are many of you who are Team Flick and the Pollinators out there. So while we don't have an official closing date for this show just yet, there's a good chance we'll see it up and running over the next few months, if not longer. But I'll keep you updated in case that status changes. Dinoland USA will completely metamorphose into the tropical Americas and be officially completed by 2027. The new name of this area is Pueblo Esperanza. Now, the good news here is that this change will happen in phases. So while construction on this area is going to start up in the fall of 2024, so like real soon, you should still be able to get one last ride or even a few final rides on Dinosaur before it becomes extinct. And then, of course, the verdict's still out on the new Monsters Inc. land for where it's going to go in Hollywood Studios, though we're crossing our fingers for Animation Courtyard and not having our Muppety friends dismantled. But wherever it does end up going, construction's not going to start up officially until next year, so you've still got time to experience Hollywood Studios as it is right now for a little while longer. There's a whole lot more that's been announced for Disney World and the other Disney parks around the globe too, so if you haven't had a chance to hear about them all just yet, make sure to check out all the latest happenings via our D23 video where we tell you everything that they announced, which is a lot. But in conclusion, even if you're not able to go to the parks in the near future to see these areas and attractions one last time, we're going to keep you in the know when it comes to future construction and how to plan around it accordingly. Also, don't be afraid to get excited about these future updates. I know some updates that Disney has announced for us in the past didn't quite live up to the hype we were hoping for. Communicore Hall, we're looking at you. But the fact that we're already seeing a lot of love and devotion and money going into these new areas is promising, and I'm keeping my hopes high that they're going to wind up blowing us away. Fingers crossed. Next, let's talk about surge pricing. Call it what you will. Surge pricing, variable pricing, a horse. Sorry, anytime I can fit a Tangled quote in somewhere, I'm going to do it. However you want to refer to it, the fact that many of Disney's prices are never set in stone can really pull the rug out from under guests who are trying to desperately budget for their future trips. I mean, think about it. Hotel prices change, theme park ticket prices change, Lightning Lane prices change pretty regularly. Even travel variables that are outside Disney's control, like gas and flight costs, change constantly, so it can be kind of difficult to really pinpoint a budget that's going to work best for your group. Or is it? Despite Disney's prices changing frequently, you can see price points for tickets and hotel rooms listed out months in advance. For example, if I go out to the Disney World website right now, I can see prices for tickets and hotels listed all the way out until October 2025. While these prices are always subject to change, if you find a price point that works for you and you decide to go ahead and buy, even if Disney decides to hike up the prices later on, you're not going to have to pay any difference. What you agreed to is what you'll have to pay, and that is not going to change even when the variable prices pull a switcheroo. Before Lightning Lanes took on their multi-pass persona, you could only see pricing for Lightning Lanes on the day of your visit. But once they switched over from Disney Genie Plus to multi-pass, starting in July 2024, you can now see Lightning Lane prices weeks before your trip begins, which is great considering the fact Disney hotel guests can start making Lightning Lane selections 7 days before their trip, and all other guests can start making them 3 days before, giving you plenty of time to budget for that extra expense accordingly if you want to use it. Another good rule of thumb for Disney Flux pricing is to consider the time of year you're planning on traveling. During busier times of the year, like during spring break or the Christmas season, prices are going to be naturally higher to keep up with the park demand. Meanwhile, less busy times of the year, like back to school season or that little in-between time right after spring break and right before summer vacation, will have price points listed on the lower end of the pricing spectrum since the demand is going to dwindle. This is going to be similar for budgeting for travel expenses too, though flight prices can also spike and dip at more unpredictable times, depending on your airline and your airport and how soon you decide to book before your trip. Flight apps are great when it comes to keeping track of this sort of roller coaster of price drops and lifts, since they'll monitor ticket costs and let you know when you should book and when you should wait for lower prices. You can download some of these apps on your Apple or Android device and use it to search the cheapest flights and track when travel prices might go down. You'll select your desired route, destination, and takeoff point, and they'll give you a color-coded calendar to show you which days are the cheapest to fly. Just recently, we released a video on our YouTube page where we helped take off some of the budgeting stress for you by coming up with a springboard budget for your Disney World vacation. But my best piece of advice right now, which you may not be too thrilled to hear, but it's true regardless, is to always budget toward the higher end of things just so you have that safety net to fall back on. I'm not saying you're always going to pay the max prices for hotels and tickets and flights and Lightning Lanes, but for your trip, having that safety net money can be great just in case you need it for a different unexpected expense. Or in best case scenario, it can become extra souvenir money for you to use however you want to. Like on enhanced sauce flights for your steakhouse meals, or another mug to go with your endless supply, or maybe this, or how about this? Okay, this is a really good one, and I'm glad we're talking about it. It's not going to happen to everybody, which is why when it does happen to you, it's jarring. On rare occasions, the Disney World resorts do have fire alarm tests. And before you say anything, I know that's less sabotage and more keeping you and your family safe, so I would never not want these fire alarm tests to take place. However, if you're not aware that this is a thing and can happen during your trip, you might head back to your hotel room midday and put your little one down for a nap like I did, only to be interrupted by, well, a fire alarm. And then you lose that nap time, which means you lose your nap time too. Now, there are a few things you need to know about fire alarm drills, just in case. One, they're never going to happen in the middle of the night, so you don't have to worry about Disney giving you a midnight rise and shine announcement and making everyone in your group extra grouchy for the next park day. Now, I have had fire alarms happen in the middle of the night at Disney hotels, but those are not kind of pre-scheduled. Those are either someone tripped the fire alarm or there's an actual fire. Normally, when these tests happen, the resort will schedule them for the afternoon when the resort is typically less crowded. Second thing to know, Disney will warn you about these tests ahead of time with signs placed around the front lobby and or on the ground floor of your resort. Sometimes they'll put the signage in elevator hallways. And these signs will let you know just how long these tests are expected to happen throughout the day. Just don't take any pop-up hotel signs for granted when you come across them, because they're probably trying to tell you something important and you want to check that out. If you do see a warning sign for a fire alarm test at your resort, you might want to change your relaxation plans for the afternoon. Hit up Disney Springs or go to the pool or have a nice meal at a different Disney World resort instead. And 3, when the fire alarms do start to go off at your resort, they usually don't last very long. Guests evacuate from the buildings, the cast members address the situation, and if it was a false alarm, then people can generally go back inside once they're given the all clear. If an emergency situation has transpired, however, then it might take more time for an all clear to be given. But either way, it's always good to follow safety protocol even if you assume the situation isn't an emergency, because it's better to keep your family safe above all else. Now here's a point that several of you asked me to add to a future sabotage video because it drives y'all bonkers, and I get it 1,000%. They're keeping you glued to your phone. Turns out the My Disney Experience app can be a bit too handy at times. On the day of your park visit, you can use your My Disney Experience app to book more Lightning Lane selections throughout the day if you purchased MultiPass ahead of time, grab last-minute dining reservations, or join walk-up wait lists, mobile order from quick service locations, check out merchandise at select stores so you don't have to worry about waiting in line to purchase them, keep up to date on current ride wait times, join virtual queues, review your PhotoPass pictures, and a lot more. And the My Disney Experience app isn't the only free app Disney might have you download to enhance your park day. The Play Disney Parks app also has fun features that'll help you kill time in ride lines or provide you with fun trivia questions to answer or unlock hidden secrets around the land you're visiting. And while that doesn't sound like sabotage in the slightest, after going back and forth between these apps, you might find a good portion of your trip dominated by your phone instead of just being in the moment with your fam. So here are some of my biggest tips to keep your screen time down while you're inside the parks. Strategy 1, plan out what you're going to need your phone for before you go. You can download both of these apps way ahead of your Disney World vacation and see which features are going to come in most handy for you and your group. Then you can delegate app assignments accordingly. Even if there's someone younger in the group who doesn't have all your My Disney Experience login information on their version of the app, they can still take charge in areas like checking on wait times and starting up the Play Disney Parks games. Strategy 2, keep yourself in check. Whenever you're walking around the parks, try to put your phone away and only pull it out when you're at a standstill. Not only does this help keep you focused on all the details surrounding you, but it's also good for your safety and other guests' safety too. You don't want any accidental collisions, right? The best time to really check on the My Disney Experience app for things is while you're waiting in line for rides and shows, since it'll help you pass the time anyways. While you're in line, this is a great time to set up your group's mobile order, grab last-minute dining reservations, and snag your next Lightning Lane, since you'll be able to grab one immediately after you scan in for one anyways. And strategy 3, remember that even your phone needs a break at times. Believe me, our reporters deal with this every single day. You know how sometimes when you're outside and it's hot, your phone screen goes dark and everything just starts to slow down? That's what our reporters deal with every day in Disney World. You're trying to film, you're trying to figure out stuff from My Disney Experience, you're in the sweltering Orlando sun, and your phone just rebels on you. Sometimes it's a good idea to just put your phone away because your phone needs to be put away. You might even want to shut it off entirely every now and then just so it can take a little nap. When your phone starts giving you that "help, I'm overheating" warning sign, listen to it. It's also a good idea to pack one of those Gooshy Squishy cold packs in your park bag ahead of time to help cool your phone down while it's chilling in your Loungefly or your purse or whatever you decide to bring along with you to hold all your stuff. Let me tell you, I'm never forgetting to bring one of those ever again. Now, this next one is not a negative sabotage point, as it's just a straight up honest one. There's so much to do. Disney World is jam-packed with stuff to do. It's really hard to figure out how to prioritize your time since you know every single minute is costing you like $100. In Magic Kingdom alone, if I go to the Disney World website to look at all the attractions available, from shows to rides to meet and greets and more, there's over 60 things to do. And if you've only got one day to experience as much as possible, stressing out over trying to do it all is just going to set you up for failure because literally you can't do it all in just one day. You're sitting pretty if you can even accomplish half of everything. Or, just ride People Mover 38 times. I really like People Mover. That's why planning your must-dos ahead of your trip is so important, because if I'm going to Magic Kingdom and my itinerary is to do it all, I'm going to get extremely overwhelmed by such a huge scope, and I'm not going to have fun. Believe me, I've tried. It's not fun. However, if I'm going to Magic Kingdom and I choose my must-dos, and those are 3 bigger attractions like Tiana's, Tron, and Happily Ever After at the end of the night, as well as 3 smaller attractions like Country Bears, People Mover, and Pete's Silly Sideshow Meet and Greet, then that's going to be way more doable, and everything else I wind up doing is going to be icing on the cake. Don't forget to add the must-dos of the other people in your travel group too. Then you can craft an itinerary that everybody can get behind. And you know what? That sounds like a whole lot of fun, so let us help you. If you scan the QR code you see on the screen right now or head to disneyfoodblog.com/DisneyPlans, we've got some free Disney World planning worksheets to send your way to help you create the perfect itineraries for all your theme park days. And we're also going to provide you with extra tips and tricks and packing lists. Those are super helpful, and more useful planning tidbits too. We got you covered. We do this every day. We travel in from other places. We live there. Our team has covered your bases, whatever group you fall into. So we've got you covered for those planning worksheets. Okay, this is a way that Disney is very clearly trying to sabotage your Disney World vacation. They put Barf Alley in the same park that has drinking around the world. I'm really trying to make Barf Alley a thing here because it deserves to be a mainstream part of the Disney lexicon. But in case you're new to our made-up DFB lingo, let me fill you in. Barf Alley is what I've deemed as the space and world discovery inside Epcot where Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind and Mission Space reside. Both rides are just a few steps away from one another, so it's really easy to get off one and jump in line for the next one immediately after, but both rides have spinning elements to them. If you go on the Mission Space Intense Orange Mission, you're going to be spun around like one of those Gravitron carnival rides that spin you so fast you stick to the wall and you can't move. Only you'll be in a tight little pod sitting down trying to run a mission to Mars. The green, less intense mission is not spinny, but it's still screen-based, which can throw you off if your head and stomach really hate those screen-based attractions. Meanwhile, over at Cosmic Rewind, there's no way to escape the spins. While the spinning on this ride is less about making you dizzy and more about giving you the chance to see everything going on around the coaster show building, it still spins you regardless. So you take one spinny ride and you go on another spinny ride, and you might have to use those provided barf bags that Mission Space keeps handy. Yep, Barf Alley knows it's Barf Alley. Now, if you pair a twisty, windy ride combo like that with a few or several alcoholic drinks around Epcot's World Showcase, and woo boy howdy, you go from World Showcase to World Discovery to a world of trouble. Believe me, I've done it. So what's a person to do if they want to ride both attractions and have a few alcoholic beverages during their park day? Well, for starters, pacing yourself is always a good thing. Even if your boarding group number for Cosmic Rewind gets called and you know Mission Space is going to be uber convenient for you to hit up right afterward, it's probably a better idea to skip it for now. Give your tummy and head time to settle after blasting your way across the galaxy with Rocket Raccoon & Co. and go do something else, like grab some sample non-alcoholic sodas from Club Cool or stroll through Journey of Water inspired by Moana, or even ride a different, more chill ride like Living with the Land or Journey into Imagination with Figment. If you consider chill to be Nigel Channing's face plastered on the moon, which some may argue is the opposite. And when it comes to drinking around the world, it's always best to pace yourself with those fun cocktails and beers and wines as well, just so you don't create a new Barf Alley somewhere else in the park. Consider splitting those drinks with someone or switch between alcoholic and non-alcoholic drinks. And above all, stay hydrated. Ha! Rickrolled you with hydration yet again. Despite all these cocktails that may look and taste refreshing, don't be fooled. Those are going to dehydrate you more than anything. Many a time, I've almost been fooled into thinking a La Cava del Tequila Marg was going to sustain me until the headaches started creeping in, which was my body telling me, hey, you remember water? That stuff sounds really good right about now. You can either refill your water bottles that you bring along with you at one of the many water refill stations around the park, or you can ask for a free water cup at one of the quick service locations. Or you can always buy a bottle of water at quick services too, which can be pricey after a while, but hey, if that's going to be the best way to keep you hydrated, then by all means, purchase them, because having Dasani water is better than having no water at all. One last important note on this subject. Maybe don't enter into the dangerous territory that is Barf Alley after you've had a couple cocktails. Instead, hit up those rides before you order your drinks, or give yourself an hour or two after having a couple adult beverages before jumping on the World Discovery rides. Don't say I didn't warn ya. Regardless of whether you decide to partake in some adult beverages or not during your Epcot day, you might still want to pregame the Barf Alley rides with some anti-nausea medicine anyways, if you know you happen to get queasy really easily. Now, I personally had a really hard time with Guardians of the Galaxy Cosmic Rewind the first couple times I rode it, so I did go over to the first aid center and get some Dramamine just to get me through. Okay, once again, Disney is not asking you to stick out your ankle so they can latch a ball and chain around you, but when you choose to purchase the Disney Dining Plan, the way you plan out all of your meals for your entire trip is going to be more structured than if you were to pay for all your food out of pocket. Just to give you a one-sentence catch-up on what the DDP is, you can add either a quick service dining plan or a standard dining plan to your Disney vacation package with your hotel and tickets in a bundled price to prepay for all your meals before your trip. So that means if you were to eat somewhere like like say Rose and Crown and Epcot, you wouldn't have to stress over trying to order the lowest priced item on the menu to help keep your costs down if you're using the standard dining plan. Instead, you'll have already paid for that meal ahead of time no matter what you order, so you can get whatever entree you want, even the most expensive one, along with a dessert and drink, which could even be an alcoholic beverage if you're 21 and over. A lot of people love the Disney dining plan just because it takes out the extra budgeting stress on the day of your park visit. You'll just use your allotted dining credits and go to town wherever you see fit, within the dining plan criteria, of course. However, with a standard dining plan, you'll have one table service credit that you can use each day of your trip, which means you'll not only still have to make sure you've got those advanced dining reservations lined up and ready to go 60 days before your visit, but you'll also be forced to stop whatever you're doing during your park day just so you can hit up a restaurant and have a 1 to 2 hour sit-down meal. And while the quick service dining plan might give you a little more freedom within your dining day, quick service credits can't be combined to morph into table service credits. So if you decide you do want to dine at least one table service location, even though you've invested in a quick service plan, you're still going to have to pay out of pocket for that table service and decide what you're going to do later on with that leftover quick service credit. The good news is that dining credits can be spent at any time throughout the duration of your visit, so you could still have that leftover quick service credit that you didn't use on one day roll over and become the quick service credit you use on another day. And don't forget about your daily snack credits that you're going to need to spend before you lose them too, because here at DFB, no snack credit gets left behind. Whether you're on the standard Disney dining plan or the quick service Disney dining plan, everyone in your family is going to get one snack credit to use each day, and that means taking even more time out of your day to choose a snack, whether you're really hungry for it or not. So the Disney dining plans can be great for some families, but they might feel a little too constricting for others who just need a super speedy meal but want to get back into the thick of the rides and the shows as quickly as possible. The Disney dining plan is definitely something you're going to want to study up on before you commit either way, which is why we've got a lot of Disney dining plan videos already up on the channel for you to check out when you get the chance. And now we can put all this Disney sabotage behind us, for now, until we find more dastardly behavior lurking around the corners in the parks. Don't forget to download our free Disney World planning worksheets, though, over at disneyfoodblog.com/DisneyPlans, so you can pick up an easy-to-use itinerary building companion for whenever you decide to travel to Disney World next. Thanks for listening, everyone, and thanks for watching. As always, this is AJ for Disney Food Blog, and we'll see you real soon.